Welcome to episode number 133 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for advertising, public relations, marketing, and communications professionals. We're recording live on YouTube on March 6th, 2016. We got a bunch of things to talk about this week, as usual. We're going to talk about some Google Posts, a new format that they've come up with, Facebook Live video boosts, Amazon encryption, political news stories, fake news stories, good and bad emojis, Facebook instant article signups, Facebook news categories, YouTube analytics, cool tools, stats, and a lot more. And of course, we always started out with the worst story that happened during the past week, and BL always has the honors to kick us off with the worst story. BL, what was it?
Well, it's hard to pick this week, but there is a petition for emojis about menstruation. The petition says, around the world, 300 million people have their period right now. There are currently no emojis on the emoji keyboard that represent the important things in life, like our periods. We want to change that. And so the company is Bodyform, and they're a British company, and they're submitting a petition to ask them to include 6 new period emojis. These include bloated, cramps, pad, period, PMS, and spotty. And then after that, there's going to be diarrhea and constipation emojis. I'm quite sure of it. I just don't care to know about this. I don't need to know. And I don't know anybody who does need to know that you have cramps. I don't care. It's your problem.
All right, next story.
I don't expect you to have any comments on that. You do your next story.
All right, Amazon. Amazon was in the news not for reasons that they necessarily wanted to be, because they quietly removed encryption from their Fire OS, the operating system, the Android-based operating system that powers their tablets and their failed mobile phone. So this is from a Vice story by Lorenzo Franceschi Bicciari, I think is how you pronounce it, but I apologize because I probably butchered it. Anyway, so they recently deprecated support for device encryption on the latest versions of Fire OS. And in the past, privacy-minded users could protect their data stored on the inside of their devices. A lot of people download music, download games, download movies to their apps, or use it for email. So they could encrypt all that stuff by scrambling it with a password, which would make it unreadable, of course, in case their device got stolen or was lost. But with this change, users who had encryption on their Fire device will be left with 2 bad choices. Either decline to install the update, of course, which forgoes having your software up to date, or keep up with just use it with unencrypted data. So not good solutions either way. But then they reversed course after they heard the predictable firestorm of people complaining about it. So they pledged to bring back device encryption back this spring. This is based on a Verge story by Dante D'Orazio, sorry, Dante. And so in a statement provided to The Verge, Amazon representatives said they didn't provide any explanation for why they made the decision to deprecate encryption, just said that we will return the option for a full disk encryption with a Fire OS update coming this spring. The company also said that it made the decision to remove the feature last fall before the current case, of course, the coincidentally current case between Apple and the FBI, which is why this raises the hackles of so many people. I mean, in and of itself, it would raise the hackles of people removing encryption, but coupled with the news that Apple is in this battle with the FBI over encryption, that only caused more of an uproar. And then, of course, Amazon has filed a joint amicus brief in Apple's favor on Thursday. So, you know, we had this discussion about the FBI versus Apple last episode, or 2 episodes ago, or whatever, and I sort of came out in favor of the FBI. This made me rethink it. I was I'm in line for an upgrade to my tablet, so I'm thinking about buying a new one. I was thinking about buying a Fire one from Amazon, and saw that headline, like, nah, maybe not. And if this, you know, who knows? But if the Apple FBI case caused a precedent that made Amazon decide to to remove the encryption from their devices, then that's a horrible precedent in and of itself, not even including the one regarding whether or not Apple should allow access to that single device.
Well, there have even been changes in the Apple case, you know, where it looks like they will not have to remove the encryption. And what a stupid decision by Amazon. I wouldn't buy anything that was Amazon. I certainly wouldn't update the software.
Well, I mean, if you just are charitable and buy what they say at face value, at the very least, it was a bad PR move. The timing of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I have this in worse just because it's yet another example of Google's really ham-handed way of launching and explaining their own products. You know, I will always believe that the downfall of Google Plus was Google's inability to explain what the hell it was. So the takeaway here, and this is sort of a long thing that I have to tell you, but the takeaway is you need to get your Google profile updated, and you need to do it immediately because it's going to affect your SEO and a lot more about your online identity. So what happened was that Google launched, and I have a post on my blog about it explaining the background and what you need to do. But Google the other day very quietly launched something called Google Posts, which I saw in an Ars Technica story by Ron Amadeo. And he said there's this weird new feature popping up in Google search results called Google Posts. And it seems to be a place to directly host content in, now that Google Plus is gone, and for that content to go directly into search results the way that Google Plus posts used to. So just think about Google Plus posts with no Google Plus branding, and you're almost there. And so google.com/posts has a landing page for this feature that calls it an experimental new podium on Google. What the hell does that mean? That allows you to hear directly from the US presidential candidates in real time on Google. But then it was seen that not only presidential candidates are there, but Andrew Jewelers in Buffalo and several other brands. So maybe it's a Google Plus reboot for brands, who knows? But it has no social network, and there's no way to comment, and there's no way to share. So what is it? Is it a new form of advertising? What the hell is it? And you can't search for brands that have Google posts or follow them. So what's left is creating a profile, writing posts, and sharing pictures and videos, but they'll be only visible to people if they search for something relevant to your content. So we've seen the posts show up like in a horizontal carousel in the middle of search results. So if you look for engagement rings Buffalo, which is certainly not a presidential candidate, you will get this jewelry store, and their profile page is linked to a profile picture, but Hillary Clinton's isn't because she hasn't updated her profile, or her people haven't. And The Verge says they're a new type of search result for self-promotion. Who knows? You know, it remains to be seen what they are, and whether they're ads or whether they're posts or whether they're, who knows? But, you know, as is so typical of Google, they haven't explained what they're doing, and they probably won't. And when they do, it'll be like Google Plus. They had thousands, literally thousands of pages of unintelligible explanation of what you needed to know about Google Plus, none of which was actually what you really did need to know, which is why this whole industry of people, including me, sprung up to explain Google Plus to you. So it's still there, but it's limping because I don't use it. Do you? You know, the only thing that I'm using is events so that we can do our Hangouts in an event, because Hangouts are great. So, you know.
Well, it sounds like this is an experiment, and Google often does experiments. And so if it's just that, and they're sandboxing it a little bit and trying it out, then it's not surprising they have very little explanation about what it is. Not to defend their ability to communicate, because they're not very good at it, but if it's an experiment, that would explain a lot. The first thing that pops into my mind when we talk about this is instant articles, is Facebook instant articles. So if Facebook is getting a lot of traction with getting people to publish stuff on their own platform and providing instant access to that content, This seems to me like a logical reaction to what Facebook is doing with instant articles, allowing people to publish content directly on Google's platform, and thereby allowing Google to deliver it instantaneously within search results, and by the way, have it within their own ecosphere of content as well, so they can monetize it. So it seems to me that this might be a reaction to Facebook instant articles.
I think that is very possibly true, but I think that the takeaway here is that you had better update your actual profile, not what Google is calling a profile in many of the places where you have a profile. And About Me is really where your profile is. About Me is a new page that Google launched. And all of these things, whatever they're doing, all connect. Everything that you do on Google connects to your profile. And if Google Posts is the pathway to the Google version of instant articles, then your profile is going to be connected to that. So you better have it ready.
Yeah.
So that's, I think you only had one bad news thing, huh?
I did.
Okay, well, there was a fake article that looked like a New York Times article that claimed that U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren had endorsed U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, and it wasn't true. It masqueraded as a New York Times article and looked just like it, and it had the typefaces, and it had the bylines, and it had quotes from Lena Dunham and Mrs. Warren and Barbara Boxer, and it was from Clone Zone, which displays other examples of fake Times articles, and so it had been taken down, and New York Times took it down and blocked them from using others. And this is from a Gawker article that I found it from. So I believe that brings us to better news, Dave.
Just in time for the caucuses, that article goes up, conveniently enough, right?
Conveniently enough, right? So give us one of yours.
Yeah, so more Facebook news. Facebook is giving another algorithm tweak to their video algorithms. This is coming from Facebook itself. So they are going to be giving a boost to live videos when they're live in their newsfeed algorithm. So they say a few years ago they started when people began sharing video more often on Facebook, they started listening to feedback and learning what signals helped them show people more videos, what they wanted to see. At first, they updated the newsfeed ranking to take into account how many people watched a video and how long they watched for to personalize the newsfeed. But then over time, they learned that certain actions people take on a video, like choosing to turn the sound on, of course, or making the video full screen, were really good indicators of the fact that they probably liked it, even if they didn't choose to like it, actually using the like button. So now that this is really a push to get more people to use live video, but now that there's more people using live video, they're considering live video as a content type in and of itself, different from normal videos, and learning how to rank them in the newsfeed. And as a result, they are going to be giving a boost to visibility for live videos in a newsfeed when those videos are in fact live, as opposed to when they're recorded and people play them back after the fact. They say that people spend more than three times more time watching a Facebook live video on average compared to a video that's no longer live. So if you're using live video, then maybe use more of it. If you're not using live video, then maybe experiment with it to see how it works. I haven't experimented nearly as much as I should be with live video, but I played around with it, and well, I could do more of it, I guess.
There's an interesting example this morning. My friend Sri Srinivasan, who's the head of digital at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, did something that was reminiscent of the days when President Roosevelt would read the funnies. What he was doing was going through Sunday's New York Times, and 60,000 people joined him during the live broadcast. So he was just experimenting to see, what would be happening as he did this. And I haven't tried to do anything with it either, and obviously it's time. There was something really fabulous on Jimmy Kimmel's show this week. It was called Trumped, and it was a reenactment of a scene from The Producers, which happens to be my all-time favorite movie. I know every single line in that movie. And in this reenactment made me want my blue blankie, I gotta tell you. This was Bialystock and Bloom, and they were talking about, in the movie, they talk about how if they get investors in the worst play in the history of the world, then the play will close after one night, and then they can keep all the money. And their play happened to be called Springtime for Hitler, and it happened to become a huge hit, and they were ruined. So in this version, they say, this is what we have to do. We have to find the worst, most unelectable candidate in the history of the world. We have to raise money for this candidate. And they find Donald Trump. What a surprise. And they raise all this money from little old ladies, which is how they do it in the movie by Bialystock sleeping with them. And they every time they see him do something, you know, he says, I'm going to deport 11 million people, and his ratings go up. And every horrible thing that he says, his ratings go up, and we are ruined. We are absolutely ruined. No matter what we do, we're ruined. I mean, it gets harder to laugh at this stuff every day because it's so real, but it was really funny. And you have to stay sane somehow, you know, you have to laugh.
Mm-hmm. So I apparently have Facebook all the time today. Here's another Facebook story. Yeah. So we talked about instant articles. I mentioned instant article earlier. This is another piece about instant articles. It's by Digiday. Lucia Moses is the writer, and Facebook is letting publishers use instant articles to collect email newsletter signups. Now, you've heard me talk over and over again. If you're going to publish on somebody else's platform, your goal should be to get email newsletter signups so that you actually create a direct relationship with your customers rather than leasing that relationship from Facebook or Twitter or who else it may be. So this is kind of an acknowledgement by Facebook that that publishers are in this kind of dilemma here. So the New York Times, the Washington Post are among those who are participating. The test messages that it's basically rolling out as a test for doing this, but the test messages that are rolling out are hard to spot because they're not shown to all readers. And some publishers said it was either too early to share results or they're not going to share any results. So there's that. But publishers are kind of getting around to accepting the idea that they need to publish content on these platforms in order to have their content distributed to places where the readers are at. Makes sense, right? But with the platform setting the rules, then the publishers are also worrying about what I've talked about all the time, is sacrificing the relationship with their readers in exchange for using the platform. Email is the way that you build relationships with your readers and maintain those relationships because it's a distribution channel, it's a marketing channel, and it's a channel that you control that the social channels do not once you get that email relationship. So Julia Beezer, the director of mobile product for the Washington Post, acknowledged this in a quote in the story. She said, email is very beneficial to it. We love anything we can do to deepen the relationship with our customers. So even publishers that aren't part of this trial are doing things to try and get their readers to click back to their sites and subscribe to their newsletters. The Atlantic is running newsletter sign-up messages at the bottom of its articles, but it looks like Facebook is acknowledging the reality that if they want this relationship between publishers long-term, they're going to have to give publishers some control over how to maintain control of their own audiences. So a good development, I think.
I don't know. That gives Facebook access to your email list besides everything else that they have access to. I mean, to me, that's a pretty big trade-off.
Well, Facebook probably already does have access to the email list because publishers are probably using those email lists to target people through Facebook advertising. So there's the lookalike audiences that Facebook advertising has that's built on your email list. So they probably already have it.
I'm not a big fan of Facebook. So my sister, Dory Friedman Schwartz, showed me ShareTheLoad, which is this very emotional ad about laundry that went viral this week and that Sheryl Sandberg posted about. It's and she said, Sheryl Sandberg said, one of the most powerful videos I've ever seen. And basically what it showed was how stereotypes are passed from generation to generation, how little girls play house and little boys don't. And how as they grow up, the long-term behavior is that little girls grow up to prepare dinner, pick up the toys, be on the phone during it all, be using a laptop, obviously with somebody at work, and her husband sitting on the couch with his laptop, sipping tea and demanding that she wash his green shirt. And it's another example of a trend that's called femvertising, and which brings about gender issues on social media. And it's the hashtag on this one is LikeAGirl. And excuse me, the LikeAGirl video from Always was another great example. You know, what does it look like when a girl runs, and then you know, demonstrating the stereotypes that boys have. So LikeAGirl is seeking to create empowered girl emojis, and they're you know, may seem like a small idea. They may just seem like funny faces, but like they said, that's how girls express themselves online. And so what they want is they want to see video, you know, emojis of a girl wrestler, of you know, girls doing powerful things. Now that's the kind of emoji that I want to see. I don't want to see one about bloating or PMS, for Christ's sake.
Yes.
Those are good emojis.
Mm-hmm.
So you have another one, Dave?
I'm done with my good stuff.
Well, I got an email, and probably, you know, 50 million other people did, from Hillary Clinton on Trump, and I was just going to read it to you because I think it's magnificent. She says, I'm going to say this flat out. I think Donald Trump is terrifying, and I absolutely hate what he stands for. I know how he insults women. I hate how he insults women, people of color, and entire countries when it suits him. I hate his total lack of understanding of complex issues that impact Americans. I hate that he said didn't know enough about the KKK to disavow an endorsement from its former leader. What does he need to know? It's the KKK. And here's what I hate most. He could be our next president. That's pretty direct. And I think that's pretty phenomenal that she did that. I would like to see more people doing that, and I would like to see the Republican candidates have the balls to say, I will not support that lunatic if he's the candidate. Not one of them did. No balls. Does that bring us to apps?
It brings us to new stuff, yes.
Okay. You know, I came across this thing called Qwipit, and it's a social media platform that makes videos 11 seconds long, and it wants to create and share, like, what it does is it'll let you take like 11 seconds out of a longer video, and then share them on Twitter and Facebook. So they said, who has time for an entire video? Media today is about short, digestible bits and videos. And you know, it's a funny way that it does it, because it doesn't really choose like the nugget. It just really chooses something. And I showed it to Scott Scowcroft, who does the Scott treatment, where he actually takes the golden nuggets out of longer videos and makes them into 1 or 2 minute videos. And he said, you know, I didn't get it at first, but now I see it's a joke. So I'm not so sure. You'll have to decide for yourself. Because
so it just takes a random bit of 11-second video?
Yeah, basically.
All right.
I hope it's a joke.
So more Facebook all the time today. Facebook has added a new feature to their news feed. They've added news categories. So if you haven't noticed, you now have the ability to, or they may be rolling out the ability to customize your news feed according to types of news. You can add categories. So there's a world news, there's a politics, there's a music, there's sports. You can add preset categories to your news feed, and then you can go in and customize each category by news sources, by Facebook pages, by Facebook groups, and then it shows most popular content shared by those to whom you are connected to on Facebook. So it's segmenting those. It just goes to show you, I've got a blog post about this specifically that we'll include in the show notes, but it just goes to show you how Facebook is segmenting. People are using Facebook more and more as a news source, and so they're segmenting that traffic to make it easier for more people to find that content and interact with that content. And you got to think that has a lot to do with their Facebook articles, instant articles, and wooing publishers to get more traction on their stories. So
for Facebook. I use Facebook the way I use Twitter. I use it with lists, and I really kind of try to ignore the noise and just look for what I'm there for. But, you know, there's a danger when you do that, and that is that you only see what you already know, or you only see like what you agree with. So it's hard to just say, well, I'm not going to pay attention to all that noise, but there's so much noise, and you have to defend yourself somehow from all the noise, you know? So I have another one. I love this. I can't wait to use it when I can go outside again. It's called PetCube, and it's an interactive pet monitor with a real-time video and a built-in laser pointer. And I don't know if you have a pet or not, but a laser pointer is something that drives my cat and my dog bananas. Like, they'll slam into walls and slide across the floor trying to catch the laser pointer. It's really quite funny. But this app allows pet owners to watch, talk to, and play with their pet from a smartphone, no matter where they are. So the dog or the cat's going to go insane, going, where's that coming from? Where's that coming from? But it started on Kickstarter, and it became one of the most successful crowdfunding pet products in history. And they raised $2.6 million in the most recent funding round. So I would imagine they might be sticking around. And it's just adorable. It's absolutely
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool idea.
But
Yep.
I'm going to drive the cat and the dog crazy because they won't know where your voice is coming from, but you can play with them.
Well, what you need then is a robot for yourself that you can play with your pets while you're not there.
Yeah, right. Well, but the other thing that this is hooked up to is shelters, and you're able to interact with shelter dogs and also ask to adopt them. Sorry about that. It's still Manhattan.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Isn't that a good idea? I mean, I can see many different ways that could apply in different situations too. Fun with your kids, I guess, too.
Yeah. So I just noticed this this week. I don't know how long it's been around yet, but I just noticed it. YouTube has a new feature in its analytics function. So the analytics for your videos that you upload to YouTube, there's a new feature called YouTube Analytics Groups. And what it is, it's pretty simple. It allows you to add videos and playlists to a group that you create for the purpose of aggregating all the YouTube analytics for those videos into one view. So you get an aggregated view of all. So if you have a bunch of how-to videos in your YouTube channel, you could put those all into a how-to group. Or if you've got a bunch of content marketing videos in your YouTube channel, you could take all the content marketing videos and put them into a group, or case studies, or whatever it is you have, and then analyze the analytics according to that group. So you can get the demographics of a certain kind of content type that people are interested in watching. You break that down. You can get the keyword. You can do easy keyword research based on all the analytics of the videos that are added to that group. You can get top performing videos by ad revenue for the videos in that group. So it's a new feature. It's pretty simple, but it's pretty powerful as well.
Only your videos, right? Not other people's.
Correct.
And how is that different from playlists? Can you put a playlist into a group?
A playlist is for public consumption. The groups are for analyzing your analytics of your videos.
So they're not public. Those are only.
Correct.
Oh, I like that.
Yep.
I'll have to do that with the show.
Yes. So yeah, if we segmented our videos by cool tools or marketing stats or best and worst, then we could lump all those together and get the analytics just for that type of content.
And see what people like the most, right? So we could explore that.
Yeah. Cool. So what do you got? Anything else?
That was it. I just said those two. You have one more, I think.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to save that one for later. But I do have a project I want to mention. Okay. I was on the news. I was asked to comment on a social media policy story regarding law enforcement's use of social media policies this past week on a local Minnesota television station. And so I did a blog post based on that because it got me to thinking about social media policies and how they've evolved over the years. And so you think about it, when social media policies first started, the policy was pretty simple and direct. don't do it. It was denial. It was nobody should be using social media on the job because it's a time suck and a productivity drain, and you have no business using social media on the job. So it's just that was the policy. And then they sort of came around to it and they started bargaining with employees with social media policies. So if you're going to do it, because they saw it was inevitable, basically, if you're going to do it, then you should be following these guidelines. This is how you should conduct yourself, et cetera. And these are the consequences for not doing for violating our policies. And then you come to the point of acceptance, where now we're in the age of acceptance, where there's no way you can stop people from bringing their smartphones to work and using social media. So now, beyond the social media policy, we have social media training, like we do at my PR firm. We do media training that encompasses social media training. In the case of police officers, it's much more, it's tailored to them because they are public figures, right? So in addition to what they should and should not be saying on social media sites themselves as individuals, they're also representing their department in public, where people have smartphones, where people have social media on their smartphones. They can comment on those police officers' public behavior. So it's really a PR function as much as it is a social media management function. So anyway, we'll leave a link to this in the show notes so you can get my detailed thoughts on it.
Interesting point. I, over the years, have written social media policies for a number of really big companies. And you know, what I tried to say in all of them was, don't forget you have a day job. You know, that's what you have to think about in social media. And I think, like, among the companies that have some really good ones, you have to look at the one that the Red Cross uses, and you have to look at what IBM has evolved into. I was involved in the early stages of IBM's social media policy, also Ford Motors, and you know, yes, they have evolved, but I think the company that caused the evolution in the strongest way was Dell, when they gave everybody access. You know, because that's what I tell every company, like, everybody's got a computer in their pocket. You can tell them they can't use their computer at work, but they have it anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, it's now, I mean, it's gone to the point where it's beyond, the next evolution is you're starting to see companies wanting their employees to use social media as amplifiers, right? As sharing content and stuff. And so that's another evolution that is just at the beginning of being rolled out, and people developing their social media policies in that regard. It's a lot more training. It's a lot more understanding of why you want employees to do it, why it benefits the company, why it benefits them, and how to do it, and getting more hands-on training about actually how to use those tools. So,
well, companies have actually sprung up that do just that, do employee training for social media. But, you know, I mean, that's something that you and I have both been doing for a long time. And
right.
You can't really just send people out there without training them, because it is your PR. It's such a fascinating field, really. I mean, we could do a whole show about it.
Sure can.
I think that brings us to your daily numbers.
Daily numbers, yes. So why people abandon online videos. This is interesting stuff. So reasons that internet users in select countries abandon digital videos. The top reason, not surprisingly at all, the playback is of poor quality. 65.8% said that. Next, there are too many ads during the video. That also is not surprising at all. 61.8% said that. The video pauses, buffers more than once. 51% said that. It's not clear at the beginning what the video is about. 40.9% said that. And if you're doing video content, then get to the point immediately at the beginning of your video. That's something we should probably do better job at ourselves, right? And then there's an ad before the video, and I can't skip it. 26.7% said that. And then lastly, there's an ad before the video, period. 16% said that. So some interesting stats on how people abandon video, online video.
Well, the buffering is often your own internet connection. It's hard to blame that on the video. But yeah, I mean, people don't always have access to great connections. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the show. You want to take it out?
It does. Thanks for watching Beyond Social Media Show episode number 133. You can find, we'll have the links to everything that we talked about at the show, at the blog at beyondsocialmediashow.com/133. Let us know what you think. by giving us some love if you love it, or giving us some feedback if you didn't like it at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/love, where you find places where you can leave us reviews. Subscribe to our newsletter, email newsletter. Every week you'll get a notice of the episode, and you'll get links to stuff we talked about and exclusive content, and the big book of cool tools that we compile quarterly based on the cool stuff that we share every week. And you can get that at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/newsletter. I am David Erickson. You can find me on Twitter at @DErickson. My blog is e-strategyblog.com, and I also blog for my agency's blog at creativepr.com/blog. BL, you can find out what's next on Twitter. Her blog is what'snextblog.com. She is the CEO of Maximum Dash Plus, where you can hire her for online events and online video. She also publishes Paw Fun, which is a lot of fun, and she writes for Ad Age. Follow us on the web at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com, on Twitter at BSMediaShow, and again, subscribe to the newsletter, BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/newsletter. Until next week.
Wait. We're on iTunes and Stitcher, and you can download the podcast from there and subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode.
Absolutely.
Yep. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Same time, same station. Only it'll be my birthday.